Broadcasting from the deserts of sunny Arizona, you're listening to I've Got a Plan, hosted by Tim Fiskus, a podcast focusing on the two-player experience of Arkham Horror the card game. Join me as I take two investigators through a campaign, stopping along the way to talk tactics, strategy, and whine about the whims of the Chaos Bag. Let's have fun. So welcome back to I've Got a Plan. We are headed into the third scenario, no, make that the fourth scenario of the Return to the Dunwich Legacy. As you can see laid out before you, I have the Return to the Essex County Express. This is a pretty neat scenario. I think it's kind of an iconic scenario in the Arkham Horror card game. It's one that a lot of people really like, and it's one that a lot of people also have some pretty strong negative feelings about. But I think some of that has to do with your first playthrough and not knowing what the game is going to throw at you. But the Return to the Essex County Express definitely upped the stakes. This is a much tougher scenario to survive. And so I'm looking forward to see if my team of Skids and Daisy, who are pretty good clue finders, can make their way quickly from train car to train car, avoiding the problems that will encounter along the way. Let's talk a little bit about the changes I made to the decks. I had 4 XP to spend after the Miskatonic Museum, and I tried to put that to as good a use as possible as I could to prepare for this scenario specifically. Daisy's deck changes were pretty straightforward. I upgraded one of her archaic glyphs. I had translated those in the very first scenario, but it had taken me a while to get about the chance to spend 3 XP to upgrade one of the glyphs. So I upgraded one of them to the Prophecy Foretold version, which is the one that allows you to get a free evade when you successfully investigate in the same space as an enemy. So this is going to hopefully allow Daisy to be able to get away and keep doing what she does best, which is to find clues. And then I spent the 4th experience, that takes 3 of them, and then her 4th experience was spent for a second copy of Knowledge is Power. Now that's a level 0 card, but it still costs an XP because I didn't put it in the deck to begin with. And honestly, it wasn't me that didn't put it in the deck, it was the Mythos Busters team. But they opted against that for their starting deck and only had 1 copy. So, the whippoorwills are out tonight. That's my bird Flynn. He wants to let everybody know that he has likes scenarios with whippoorwills, and this is not one of them. So the extra 1 XP was spent for a level 0 card, Knowledge is Power. I got that card in my hand and was able to play that during the last scenario, and I really was impressed with what that's able to do, the flexibility that gives you with all the options Daisy has for that. So I wanted another copy. So I went ahead and ponied up the 4th experience point to be able to get a second Knowledge is Power, and that replaced the one that adds secrets to your cards. That is called Truth from Fiction. Truth from Fiction came out, and the Knowledge is Power went in. As far as Skids' changes are concerned, there were quite a few. Oh, I should also mention that Daisy also added the Necronomicon to her deck, because of course she did. That's what the whole point was. So we talked about that at the end of the last video, but Daisy now has the Necronomicon in her deck. That doesn't need to replace anything. Skids' changes were I spent 1 XP on an adaptable. I probably should have done that a couple scenarios ago, but I didn't. So I did this time. I spent 1 XP on an adaptable, and I adaptabled in 2 copies of Small Favor. Small Favor is one of the newer cards from the Circle Undone campaign. And it is a favor traded card, which means you can spend more resources to make it more powerful. And this is one that lets you deal damage, up to 2 damage, up to 2 locations away, depending on how much you're willing to spend. And I added those for this scenario to hopefully be able to pick off those acolytes that show up with doom on them and keep the agenda from advancing too fast. I thought that Skids might have the cash to spend for a small favor, even if it was just $4 to be able to ditch a acolyte in the same location that he's in, or $4 to hit one 2 spaces away. So that was what I used the adaptable. I took out 2 copies of Lone Wolf. I know that that's a resource card or a resource engine card, but I don't tend to spend a lot of time by yourself in this scenario because you're kind of crammed into the train cars trying to make your way forward. So 2 Lone Wolves came out, 2 small favors went in. That was 1 XP for the adaptable. I also added a lockpicks and removed a flashlight. That's a pretty standard Skids play. It's also a pretty standard rogue play in general. I don't tend to plan on using Skids as a primary clue getter, but lockpicks is too good to pass up. So I grabbed 1 copy of lockpicks as an upgrade to the flashlight. And then my final 2 experience went for High Roller. High Roller is a card that can give you a nice +2 bonus to any test, which could include willpower tests for him. It could include combat tests for checks against high fight enemies. You just have to commit some cash for it. 3 cash in. If you're successful, you get your 3 cash back. So I grabbed 1 copy of High Roller. I hope to get a 2nd copy. I think that's a really good card for Skids. So I will make those changes to the deck, and that's that for Skids. So with those changes in mind and the train laid out in front of us, let's go ahead and get started. There are changes to the agenda deck from the return to the Essex County Express, meaning that there is a new agenda. There are actually 2 new agendas. Agenda 0, which is where we're starting. And this is called Where There's Smoke. As the train to Dunwich comes to a jarring stop, you look out the window behind you and see an immense tear in the sky like a rip in a piece of cloth. From this tear, a winged beast emerges. It lets out a painful screech and descends upon the train. Now, this is a new twist in this scenario. There is going to be a monster upon us very quickly, so we need to be ready to at least defend ourselves within the space of a doom threshold of 2 here. This scenario also has our old friend Resurgent Evils, think Ancient Evils with an option, and so this doom threshold can zip up very quickly in this scenario. We are also going to be starting Act 1A. Run! The train has stopped on a bridge high above the Miskatonic River. You might be able to survive the fall, but you don't like your chances. Your best bet is to make your way to the engine car as fast as you can and get the train running again. Objective: if an investigator enters the engine car, immediately advance. Now, this will be our act deck for the great majority of the scenario. So I have to make my way across all of these train cars to the engine car over here, and then and only then can I flip that act over. Each of these train cars is connected from left to right, much like a train would be, and in order to enter the next car, you have to have cleared your car, or the previous car to the left, of clues. So that is printed. That rule is printed on the back of the train cars. We have 10 train cars to choose from. I have selected 6 at random, and there are 4 engine cars now, and I've picked 1 at random. I have no idea what they are, so my experience here will be the same as yours, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Let's grab everybody's starting resources. We've got 5 starting for Skids and 5 starting for Daisy. And let's dish out some starting hands. All right. Skids. Skid's starting hand is Vicious Blow, Emergency Cash, Ace of Swords. Hey, very nice. Love to see that in my starting hand. Scene of the Crime, and Small Favor. All right. Well, a lot of that is what I was looking for right off the bat. I'd love to have a weapon, but the extra cash from emergency cash, the free +1 combat, a Vicious Blow, the Scene of the Crime is going to be great to be able to potentially grab a couple clues. I'm sticking with this hand just the way it says right now. So the Small Favor cannot be used to damage elite enemies, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the monster that chases us through the train is elite. But either way, I'm happy with that starting hand, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it. So that, by the way, is I think one of the maybe the second or third scenario that Skids has kept his starting hand, kept his starting 5 and not even mulliganed. So then we'll set the rest of his deck back, and let's draw 5 cards for Daisy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Daisy has Mind Over Matter, Daisy's Tote Bag, Deduction, St. Hubert's Key, and a Ward of Protection. Boy, that is also a really good hand. I don't need the tote bag right now. I'd like to get a book before I go into that that jazz. And I think I'll ditch the Mind Over Matter for now as well. That could be really good when you're trying to get out of a combat or an evasion situation. But I'm going to let Skids handle that at first and get Daisy going with some clue finding. But Deduction and St. Hubert's Key fit the bill for that quite nicely. And I'll keep the Ward of Protection as well. There are a couple events in here that can really ruin your day, so I'll hold on to that. And I will draw a Mr. Rook. Okay, that's nice, a little bit of health and sanity protection. And a Divermus Mysterious. All right, so that gives me a tome also that I can spend right off the bat. Now, the problem with Divermus Mysterious in Essex County Express is that you have to place a doom on it. So there are very few situations in Essex County Express in which you're loving the chance to place a doom. Although, with the fast doom thresholds on the agenda deck, you do end up in the witching hour quite a bit, in which case placing the doom on Divermus doesn't matter. So that might be worth it, especially, let's see, a spell or an insight event. I don't have any in my starting hand that I would like to be able to replay. As a note, Ward of Protection is a spell event, but you can't play it with Divermus Mysterious because Divermus Mysterious takes an action to play, and Ward of Protection is played as a reaction during the during the Mythos phase. So those two don't work together in that way, but I'll keep that. I don't have any choice. That's my mulligan anyway, so let's go ahead and shuffle this back in. I think I might use the Mr. Rook. I'd love to be able to get my new Necronomicon, my new shiny Necronomicon out and start making some cash. But those are pretty good starting hands, not complaining. All right, off we go. So let's see what train car we start in. All right, we start in the baggage car. Baggage car is connected to the locations to the left and right of it. Baggage car cannot be investigated. That's really interesting. And it has 3 shroud and 3 clues. Not 3, but just 3. And it has an action on it. Choose and discard a card from your hand. Discover a clue in the baggage car. All right, so we're going to have to ditch some cards to find that clue. Find those clues. So that's a bit of a shame, but that's okay. Daisy has a couple things that she wouldn't be terribly sad to get rid of. Really, the downside of this is that it's not investigatable. So that pulls the wool out from underneath Daisy a little bit. So maybe she'll set up and let the two of them can draw a little bit. Also of note, Scene of the Crime can actually work here because it lets you discover clues, and there's no rule that says you can't discover clues at the location. It just says it cannot be investigated. So Scene of the Crime could also work to grab 1 or potentially 2 clues. But I think we'll hold off to see if I need to resort to that. With Daisy having the Divermus, I wouldn't mind drawing and discarding some cards. I should also mention that the Chaos bag got a lot worse. With me taking the Necronomicon, that adds an Elder Thing into the bag. And the scenario itself adds a -3. The Elder Thing in this scenario is a -3. So here's our card. -3, if you fail, choose and discard a card from your hand. So that's not great. But there's only 1 of those in the deck. And I think it's time for us to get started here. So Investigation phase number 1. Skids is going to go ahead and play his Ace of Swords because that happens when the game begins. And it's free because it is a tarot and is in my starting hand. So that's terrific. Okay, so let's go ahead and spend Skid's first action to draw a card. And I drew High Roller. Okay, very nice. Let's go ahead and play High Roller for 2 resources. Definitely interested in getting that into play. And I have that up and running right on turn number 1. And then for my third action here, I'm gonna go ahead and play the Emergency Cash to get 3 more resources. It gives me a little bit of spending money, a little bit of gambling money. I need to get moving, so we're gonna have to discard some cards here. That's a bit painful, but it is what it is. That's Skid's 3 actions. I will not pay for a fourth one for him just yet. I think. So I'm thinking here, if I draw a cultist, I can't put him where I'm at. There aren't a lot of enemies that spawn where you are in this scenario. So, it's a bit tricky. I'll just stop there. All right, Daisy is going to go ahead. She's definitely going to go ahead and do a little bit of discarding. Let's filter using Mr. Rook. So I will spend my first action to play Mr. Rook for 3. So Mr. Rook comes into play with 3 secrets on him. 1, 2, 3. And you can use those secrets to search your deck. I have mentioned this before on my podcast. I am part of what we call Team 9, people who always search for 9 cards with Mr. Rook. Knowing what I know about Daisy's weaknesses, I'm not too reticent to go ahead and draw for 9. But honestly, right now, I'm just looking for cards. I'm looking for cards to discard. So I'm just going to go ahead and spend a secret from Mr. Rook and just draw the top 3. That's all I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. Try to find something I can toss and then use with the Divermis later. Okay, so I got a Moonlight Ritual, a Dr. Henry Armitage, and I got my Necronomicon. All right, well, I got a weakness anyway. So I have to keep the weakness. And do I want the Moonlight Ritual or Dr. Armitage? I don't have a Charisma right now, and I want to ride with Mr. Rook for a while, so I'll go ahead and shuffle Dr. Armitage back in, and I'll keep the Moonlight Ritual with the full intention to discard that to get a clue. So the Necronomicon is put directly into play. It takes up a hand slot. It does go in my threat area, so I'll go ahead and put it there. Gets 3 horror on it. I will go ahead and mark that with my tome chip, just to remind me that I haven't taken my tome action this round. And I'm going to shuffle up here and take my second action. My second action will be to use the event, or use the action on the location to discard the Moonlight Ritual to discover a clue in the baggage car. And I will use my tome action and go ahead and take one of the horror off of the Necronomicon and put it on myself. So that's 2 on the Necronomicon, 1 on me. And I cannot put that on Mr. Rook because the Necronomicon specifically says move 1 horror to Daisy Walker. And then for my third action, let's go ahead, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to ditch St. Hubert's Key to grab that clue. I'm going to hope that Daisy's 5 5 intellect plus other bonuses will be enough to get me through the scenario, get me through the campaign, or the rest of this train. There might be a mistake, but money's not looking like it's going to be too plentiful for Daisy right now without a David Renfield or without a Crack the Case immediately available to me. But Mr. Rook might be able to let me find a couple of those things. So that's my actions, and we are going on to the enemy phase. There are no enemies, and we reset. So Skids resets, and I will draw another copy of Small Favor. All right, well, that's fine. I'll take a resource. And Daisy will reset, and she will draw another Mr. Rook. Okay, well, that's tossable for sure to grab this last clue. And I'll take a third resource. All right, Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda. Doom 1 of 2. Skids draws first, and he draws an Acolyte. Okay, so the Acolyte spawns at any empty location. It will come into play with a Doom on it. Honestly, that doesn't really even matter that much because we're in the witching hour anyway. So I am gonna just put this Acolyte a little bit down the line. I'm not gonna be able to deal with it. The Doom on it doesn't matter. Let's just go ahead and put it in the next car. Let's just get it in there and then I'll deal with it. I've got a couple small favors. So I'll put it there. I'll split the difference. I'm gonna put it right there. Put it in the third car over. In fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it underneath the cars to show what's there. I'll overlap it just a little bit. Okay, so that is Skids pull. And it comes into play with a Doom on it, which doesn't matter because we've already checked the threshold. And then we draw Daisy's card, which is Claws of Steam. All right. Test Willpower 3. If you fail, take 2 damage and you cannot move from this location this round. Damage from this effect must be assigned to your assets first if able. Okay, so this is a little bit of a nasty because this would kill Mr. Rook. And just cause all manner of bad times. Daisy only has 5 health. And I don't want to get stuck in this location. I will go ahead and cancel that. I'm going to play Ward of Protection. I will put the horror on Mr. Rook. And I will cancel the Revelation effect of Claws of Steam. All right. Bit of an early cancel, but that card can really mess up your day. So, and honestly, I'm thinking about keeping the second Mr. Rook. It kind of depends on what I filter into. So let's start this with. Let's start this with Daisy because she has more discardable cards than Skid does. So we'll start with Daisy. I'm going to go ahead and take my Mr. Rook action right off the bat, spend a secret, and now that I've drawn my Necronomicon, let's go ahead and look at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alrighty, I've got a Renfield, a Storm of Spirits, Daisy's Tote Bag, a Knowledge is Power, a Logical Reasoning, and a Crack the Case. That Crack the Case could be excellent. Let's keep that. Yeah, the Knowledge is Power could be kind of cool as well to be able to hit that Divermus Mysterious, but right now I don't need it. So, yep, I'll take the Crack the Case. All right, and that is my first action. Actually, that's not even action. That's Mr. Rook's fast effect. All right. Action number 1, I'm going to discard my second Mr. Rook, just to get this thing moving. So that will discover the last clue on that location. Daisy grabbed all 3, and oops, missed. And then I will go ahead and fast play Crack the Case to be able to grab 3 more resources. Daisy's hand's pretty cheap right now. I will take 1 of them and give the other 2 to Skids. You can hand out those resources however you like, and Skids could use the cash. So I'll go ahead and hand the 2 to Skids. All right. That empties our location of clues. So Daisy will go ahead and move along to the next location. So our next train car is the sleeping car. All right. The sleeping car is connected to the left and right, and it is a 4 shroud with 1 clue. And it is has the action gain 3 resources. Remember that you have stolen a passenger's luggage. Group limit once per game. All right. So if you haven't played Essex County Express before, or if you haven't played Return to Essex County Express, and you're really not wanting to be spoiled about things, then let's go ahead and turn off your volume for about 20 seconds. Okay, you've been warned. Stealing a passenger's luggage does absolutely nothing. It just gets you the resources. There is no negative effect of stealing a passenger's luggage. So that was put in there as a fun little, what could it mean, what could it mean? Because there had been a couple of those in prior scenarios that meant something. So I think it was just Matt Newman's way of saying, hey, keep on your toes, because I can literally do anything in this game. So let's go ahead and put a clue on that scenario, or a clue on that location. And Daisy is in there. And she still has 1 action remaining, so I can go ahead and try to grab that clue, which I will. So I'm investigating this at 5 to 4. And I pull a -1. Very nice. Okay, so I grabbed that clue as well. Perfect. That opens up the train cars nicely. I will go ahead and spend Daisy's tome action to transfer another Necronomicon over to her. So she has now 2 horror out of 9, and we are 1 out of 3 left on the Necronomicon to get rid of it. That's it for Daisy. Okay, Skids. I am pretty sure I want to just run. So let's get out of here. I will let Daisy grab the luggage. So I'm gonna just move into the sleeping car. Nope, you know what? I'm gonna grab the luggage. Skids wants money. He never has enough money. So Skids will grab the 3 resources for stealing a passenger's luggage. I'm just gonna mark that I've done it. Group limit once per game literally means nobody else can do it now. And that's 2 actions. I think I want to move into the next train car and just pot shot this acolyte to avoid any further trouble with that. So I will go ahead and move into the next train car. And it is a standard passenger car, 2 shroud, 4 clues. So good many clues on there. All right. After you enter the passenger car, you must either discard cards from your hand with at least 2 total willpower icons, or take 2 horror. All right. Well, that's not what Skids wants to see, but it's okay because I don't have those icons, so I'm just going to have to take the 2 horror. So Skids can't handle that for too long, but I can at least handle it for right now. Let's go ahead and grab. Come on. All right, 2 horror for Skids. Daisy also will take the 2 horror by moving in there, but I might just use that to get myself rid of Mr. Rook. Once he's used all his secrets, I can soak that for him. And that makes Skids engaged with an acolyte. So as Skids has no actions remaining, I think this is a good time to spend 2 resources for another action. So I will spend 2 resources and I will punch the acolyte. So this is a Skids has 4 fight versus the acolyte's 3 fight. So it's a 4-3, but let's go ahead and do high roller. I'll spend 3 resources and exhaust high roller and make this a +2. So 6-3 on the punch. Nothing's more fun than punching acolytes in the face. That's a 0, so that's successful. So I get my 3 resources back from high roller. And the acolyte is dead. His doom goes away, but that doesn't really matter. And that's it for Skid's actions, and that's also it for Daisy's actions. So we are heading into the enemy phase. There are none, and we're going to reset. So high roller comes back, Skids gets his 3 actions back, and we draw an intel report. Well, very nice. Good thing I see. It's nice to have a lot of cash when you've got these favors around. So now I've got the ability to spend a whole buttload of money out of my hand. So I'll take a resource. Let me go ahead and make a couple change here so I can count a little easier. All right, so Skids is sitting on 11 resources. So that's not bad at all. And then Daisy will reset, and she will draw the archaic glyphs. This is the untranslated archaic glyphs. So this is my copy that hasn't been upgraded just yet. So I can just discard that for an intellect icon. Yeah. And I'll take a resource. All right, so we place a doom on the agenda, and that is 2 out of 2. So we are advancing from agenda 0 to agenda 0A to 0B. We flip over to 0A. Oh my God, it's a monster. So this was pretty shocking the first time it happened. So this is an elite monster, I thought it was elite, called the Conductor. All right, he spawns at the leftmost location, which is where nobody is right now. He is a hunter, he is massive. Forced, when the Conductor is defeated, attach it to the current agenda. After you advance the agenda, draw the Conductor. So he's gonna keep showing up at the leftmost location. When the Conductor's location leaves play, instead of discarding him, move him 1 location to the right. So you can't get rid of him by having him be on the last train car. He hits for 2 damage and a horror, and his stats are 3 attack, 3 evade, and 4 health. So the beast from beyond the gate. So he's serious business. I mean, no doubt about it. We got to keep ahead of him, or we have to have a plan to be able to deal with him. And we move on to agenda 1A. A Terran reality. The force of the gate grows with the presence of the winged beast. Several of the rearmost trains are pulled backwards, and there is a dreadful metallic crunch as they are detached. The train cars topple upward and into the rift of the sky. Nearby passengers are panicking, others are cowering in their seats, and one elderly man has fainted in fear. All right, this is also a 2 doom threshold, so that's another low one, so we got to get moving. So let's go ahead and draw a Skids card, which is, all right, need for knowledge. Revelation, if you have no clues, need for knowledge gains surge. Well, haha, ninny nanny boo boo, I have no clues. So, nothing else happened there, okay. So this gains surge. And I surged into a mysterious chanting. All right, so this is gonna go get a cultist. It would place 2 doom on the nearest cultist, but as there are no cultists, I punched the last one in the face. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it. Shuffle the encounter deck. I am not going to get fancy here. I'm just going to go ahead and draw the one in the discard pile because I would much rather draw acolytes off the deck than anything else. So I'm going to... Ooh, however, this is an interesting conundrum because the acolyte has to be spawned at an empty location. Can I use small favor? I most certainly can. I was looking to see if I could use small favor to hit somebody in an unrevealed location. I most certainly can, and I most certainly will. So I will go ahead and draw this guy. I will put him next door and put a doom on him. That would speed things up quite a bit, but because I should be able to kill him this turn, that won't matter, says Tim. And then we draw into Daisy's card, which is, a grappling horror. All right, so this is an issue, no doubt about it. The grappling horror is a hunter, and while you are engaged with it, you cannot move. So Daisy is engaged with the grappling horror. She's the one that drew it. And she's gonna need to either get away from this thing or she's gonna have to rely on Skids to help her out. Because we also have the conductor coming. Definitely an issue, no doubt about it. Okay, so I think the right play here is to, let's start with Daisy. Let me take a look at Skid's ability to dish out some damage here. It costs a lot of money. Scene of the crime, however. I can't get the grappling horror in because of the nature of the grappling horror. While you're engaged with him, you can't move. And if you evade him, then obviously you can't carry him with you. So he's grabbing you, not the other way around. Okay, let's see if Daisy can't find a couple solutions or find a solution with Mr. Rook. I'd really like a banish here is what I would really like. So let's see if I can find one. I'll go first with Daisy, and I will spend her Mr. Rook free action that does not provoke an attack of opportunity to search the top 9. I'm going to go all 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's see if we can't find a way out of this problem. All right, I got a Divermus, a tote bag, a deduction, a St. Hubert's key, a Dr. Henry Armitage, a premonition, a David Renfield, an old book of lore, and an I've got a plan. I've got a plan, eh? That'll work. I have 4 clues, so let's do it. I will take the I've got a plan. I did not draw any weaknesses, so hooray for Hollywood. And let's go ahead and reshuffle the deck. Thank you, Mr. Rook, for your service. And Daisy has 4 resources, which is just enough to be able to play I've Got a Plan. So, okay, so action 1 for Daisy will be to play the I've Got a Plan. So that's going to cost her 3 resources. 1, 2, 3. Leaving her at 1. And I'm attacking at 5 to 3. Dealing 4 damage if I'm successful. I will commit the Archaic Glyphs to make this a 6 to 3 attack, because there is now a -3 and an Elder thing that can ruin my day as well. So this is a 6 to 3 attack. I would really like this to land. And we have drawn a skull. Okay, the skull in this scenario is the agenda number, right? Okay, so that's 1. -1. That is successful. So, terrific. I've Got a Plan has dealt with the grappling horror in 1 action. The grappling horror is dead, and Daisy is free to move about the cabin. Let's spend our second action to move. And I will move in here with Skids. After I enter this passenger car, I have to discard some cards I don't have, or I take 2 horror. I will take one of it on myself and the other on Mr. Rook. So, Mr. Rook, thank you for your service. He's out of secrets, so he's out of time. Daisy now has 3 horror of 9. 4 if I do the Necronomicon, which I probably will. And then for Daisy's third action, I'm going to investigate the passenger car, and I will commit a deduction on this investigation. So that is a 6 to 2. And I pull a skull. All right. Skull is -1. So that's successful. I grab 2 clues from this location. Putting Daisy at 6 clues. Okay, we can't quite move along yet, but we also don't quite need to. So let's go ahead and take a look at Skid's situation. I'd like to get those 2 clues, which I can do with my intel report. I would also like to, I need to kill the Acolyte because I don't want to advance the agenda if I don't need to. So let's go ahead and play. For my first action, I'm going to play Small Favor. I will deal 1 damage to a non-elite enemy up to 2 locations away, up to 2 connections away, and that will cost me 4 resources. So I'll spend the 4 for Small Favor, which I'm feeling a little smart about that, having stuck that in there with Adaptable. And that takes care of the Acolyte and the Doom that was on him. All right, Skid still has 7 resources, so that's good. I have 2 actions remaining. I could buy some clues with Intel Report, but honestly, that's not that high of a shroud value, and it's probably worth just going ahead and investigating. So let's do that. The skull is still pretty friendly, so I will go ahead and investigate. I will use High Roller for this investigation. So I'm at 5 to 2. And I got a 0. All right. Get my 3 resources back from High Roller and grab a clue. There's 1 more clue on the location. I'm going to leave that for, I'm not in any super big rush to leave this location right now. So I will spend my 3rd action. I've got an enemy, I have a Stubborn Detective weakness in my deck, so I don't want to draw a 3rd action. Let's just investigate. And I'm just going to investigate this at 3 to 2. Skulls would be okay, so. All right, 3 to 2, and we hit a tentacle. Well, there we go. So, no soup for you. That was Skid's 3rd action. I don't, with my 7 resources and my somewhat expensive cards in hand, I don't want to pay for another action. So I'm done there. And we are going to go ahead and move on to the enemy phase. The conductor will hunt from the baggage car to the sleeping car. So he is still 1 step behind us. And then that's it for the enemies. So we will reset. Skids will draw a lucky cigarette case. Okay. I'm okay with that right now. And I'll take a resource, putting me at 8. Hand reminder, Skids has Intel Report, Lucky Cigarette Case, Small Favor, Scene of the Crime, and Vicious Blow. Daisy will reset as well. And she draws a mind over matter, okay? And will take a second resource. She has no assets in play at all. The Necronomicon, I suppose that counts. And we are moving on to the Mythos phase. 1 doom out of 2. And my cards are Skids draws Resurgent Evils. Okay. So I either draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, or we're going to advance the agenda. Yuck. You know, it's going to happen. I'll advance the agenda. Yeah, I'll advance the agenda because I don't want to draw 2 cards. I want to keep moving here. So I'll advance the agenda. Agenda 1, B. The rearmost car of the train detaches as it is pulled backwards. To your horror, it rises off the tracks and is consumed by the gate above you. Remove the leftmost location from the game. That's the baggage car. It's gone. Each investigator at that location is defeated. Each enemy and asset is discarded. There aren't any. Discard all clues controlled by the investigators. Okay, so my 7 clues are discarded. So got my look what I found, or no, I've got a plan in before I lost my clues, so that's good. And that's it for Agenda 1A. Agenda 2A. The maw widens. The tear grows larger, and you can feel the rearmost car of the train shaking as it is pulled backward. The situation threatens to erupt into chaos as more passengers realize the danger they are in. Some passengers are looking for places to hide, while others are running about the compartments in terror. All right. And let me check the conductor. Does he have any... only if he's attached to the agenda. Okay. And then that was Skid's encounter card. Daisy's encounter card is an Acolyte. Okay. So spawns in an empty location. Sure, I'll just go ahead and put him ahead 1 more. And put a doom on him. I can keep playing Whack and Acolyte here. Skids has got the cards to deal with that right now. Honestly, with Skids having 8 health, I very likely might just use him to scene of the crime next round. So anyway, I'm going to put him there no matter what. So we're headed into the investigation phase. Fun, fun, fun. Daisy will go first, and she will go ahead and finish up her Necronomicon with her tome action. Do I have a... Looking to see if I have a horror heal in my... I do not have a horror healing card in my discard pile right now for Devermis to help me out. So I'll wait for the witching hour to be doing that. So that takes care of the Necronomicon. It is handled and discarded. Daisy now has 0 assets in play. Her first action will be to investigate at 5 to 2. She gets a skull, which is, right now we're in Agenda 2, so that is still, that's a -2, but that's good enough. So she'll grab that clue. We'll probably just go ahead and move in. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and move in with Daisy. Just to stay ahead of the conductor. And our next train car is the parlor car. All right, this is the one with a VP on it. Nice to see that. Parlor car cannot be investigated. Spend 3 resources to discover a clue in the parlor car. All right. Well, well, well. All right, there are 2 clues. in the parlor car, I will almost certainly be using scene of the crime to save myself that money. So Daisy is now engaged with the acolyte for having moved in there. For her second action. And then for her third action, she'll just try to do a quick evade. I won't do mind over matter. It's not that important. So I'll evade at 2 to 2. Oh, nice. I got a +1. All right, coming up big on my evade there. So the acolyte is evaded at that location. And that does free Skids up for a bit of a setup turn here. So Skids is going to go ahead and move in to the parlor car. This is not one of those ones that requires cards in hand, which is terrific. And I definitely would like that acolyte to be engaged with me at the start of the next round so that I can play scene of the crime. And then I can just punch him. So I'll spend my next two actions doing other things. Such as taking a couple resources. I'm just gonna grab 2 resources. And that's it. That's all I'm doing with Skids. I've got 1 doom on the agenda because of the acolyte. All right, enemy phase. The conductor chases us to the passenger car right behind us. Keep moving, keep moving. We reset. I will have the acolyte, who does not have prey instructions, engage with Skids. And Skids will draw a set of lockpicks. Okay, not sorry to see that. I've got the spare hand slots and a little bit of cash. And I'll take a resource. Trade that out for a 3. Skids is still at 11 right now. And that is Skids reset. And then Daisy's reset. She will draw another deduction. Okay, good. Getting ready for the next train car. And I'll take a resource, putting me at 3. All right. Doom on the agenda. That is 2 out of 3. And we draw Skids card, which is a baleful welcome. Okay, this is the card that makes you pick 2 things that you can't do this round. Cannot perform the chosen actions. All right, well, I'm going to want to fight the acolyte. I'm going to want to play a card. I'm going to want to investigate. And I'm going to want to move. Oh, that's a trouble. That's a trouble right there. I definitely want to move. Yeah, I'll just drag the acolyte along with me, I think. I'll skip investigation this round. Yeah. So no investigate, no evade. Those are my 2 things that I'm not going to do this round. Let me make sure that that works for scene of the crime. It does. So no investigate and no evade. So that is 1 and 3 are the 2 actions I'm choosing. I just marked this card because I will forget which 2 I chose. So there are 5 things. I just marked that I'm choosing number 1 and number 3. And then Daisy's card. Hopefully not another one of those. Oof. Claws of Steam. All right. Well, this could hurt. This is a willpower 3 test. She's at 3 to 3. I could commit the lucky cigarette case to this with Skids and put her at 4 to 3, but I don't really think that helps her odds that much more. That adds like 2 more tokens in the bag as successes. Well, what's the... No, that adds 3 tokens. I'll do it. I will commit the lucky cigarette case to this test for Daisy. So putting her at 4-3. And she draws a -4. Well, that wasn't gonna pass, so it is what it is. Okay, so Daisy takes 2 damage, and very sadly cannot move from this location this round. So that changes things because I cannot stay ahead of the conductor now. I can, however, evade him with a mind over matter next round. The problem is taking the damage from him this round. And he's massive, so he's going to hit both of us. That is ugly. If Skids goes back in there to try and cut him off at the pass by evading him this turn, he's going to have to take 2 horror to get into that location. Because that I don't have the icons to ditch to enter that passenger car. Okay, so this is a bad situation. This is BAD, no doubt about it. I think Daisy's going to have to just sort of search for a solution. Hopefully get something that can soak up the damage to keep her from getting hit so hard. And Skids is going to just keep moving along. So, yep, that's the plan. So Skids will go first. Or will he? Yeah, Skids is going to go first. I'm going to do a scene of the crime. This does not provoke an attack of opportunity. It costs 2 to play. Play only as your first action. If there's an enemy at my location, I discover 2 clues. So, zoop. I grab those 2 clues, which is going to allow me to move along. But first I need to kill the Acolyte. So for my second action, I will punch the Acolyte. I will go ahead and use High Roller for this, and therefore I'm punching him at 6-3. And I draw a skull, which is -2. So the Acolyte is dead, which buys us another round for the Doom threshold. All right. Skids. Am I going to move? That's the question. I should move so that I don't get the massive hit that Daisy's most certainly going to take. So, yeah, I will go ahead and move with Skids. Get my High Roller money back. And we'll move into the next train car. All right. I can't investigate or evade. So, next train car says, passenger car is connected to the locations to the left and right of it. It is a 4 shroud with 2 clues. After you enter, you must discard cards with a total of 2 fight icons or take 2 damage. That's gonna really stink for Daisy. So she's definitely gonna need some soak. I think I've got both of my Mr. Rooks in the discard pile as well, don't I? Yeah, I do. Okay. Yikes. Okay, so Skids is now in this passenger car. I will not discard the icons. I will just go ahead and take the 2 damage. Skids has not taken any damage yet, so he's in fine shape. 2 of 8. And I've got 9. I've got 9 resources. Let's start using some of them. I'm just going to go ahead and play Intel Report. and discover 2 clues at my location. I'm allowed to do this, aren't I? I can't investigate, but I can discover 2 clues at my location. So I'll spend 4 resources, spending 6, taking 2 back, leaving me at 5 to grab the 2 clues off of the passenger car. And that's that. So let me make sure I didn't just cheat there. Skids played scene of the crime, punched, moved. I got to spend 2 more resources to take that 4th action. So, because intel report is not fast. So that leaves me with 3 resources. How quickly the money goes. But that puts us in a pretty good situation for when Daisy can move. She can zip out of there pretty quick. She just can't move right now. All right, that's Skids' turn. Daisy needs a solution. She is not allowed to move from this location this turn. So she's going to need something that can soak some damage. So let's draw. Okay, I drew a knowledge is power. Choose a tome or spell you control. I don't have any. Or reveal one from your hand. I could use this to use my Divermus from my hand in order to play a spell or insight event from my discard pile. Is there anything there that is going to be game changing? I've got a plan, could certainly be nice, but I only have 1 clue. No, nothing in there right now that's going to be worth my time protecting me there. So I'll keep that card and I'm going to draw again. Draw again. I drew a Storm of Spirits. Okay, that has a fight icon on it. So that's one of the, and then so does Mind Over Matter. That's important. I'll draw one more time. And I draw an Old Book of Lore. Okay, it's fine. None of those things got me out of trouble, at least not right now. So that is the end of the investigation phase. Here come trouble. So I'll get rid of this Baleful Welcome because I didn't break those rules. Hunter's Hunt. The conductor hunts into the parlor car and is now engaged with Daisy. Well, he's massive, so she is in that location. And he hits her for 2 damage and 1 horror. So that puts Daisy at 4 of 5 damage and 5 of 9 horror. Let's get out of here. Trouble, trouble, trouble. All right, let's reset. Skids draws a card. He gets a Watch This. Great, happy to see that. And I'll take a resource, putting me at 4. Daisy will draw a card. It's another Knowledge is Power. I could certainly use my Storm of Spirits a couple times to kill this thing. Resets it back to the farthest left location. I'll have to think about that. I might stand a chance there. I also might evade and run, so that's a possibility. And I'll take a resource. Alrighty, Mythos phase. I'm going to place a Doom on the agenda. That is 2 Doom of 3. And we are heading into the encounter cards. Oh, this is scary with Daisy so close to death. And so many ways this could go badly. Let's go ahead and draw. This is Skids as the lead investigator. He pulls a helpless passenger. All right. So this guy surges, hooray. Put him into play at the location to your left. All right, so he's going into play at Daisy's location. And that might be a nice little opportunity for her to grab a health soak. You hate to have the helpless passenger be your meat shield, but hey, it's better than taking a physical trauma. And then that surges into Haunting Recollections. For each card in your hand, if there's a copy of that card in your discard pile, you take a horror. Let's see. Well, I know that there's a small favor in my discard pile. I played that earlier. Yeah, that's the only one of the cards in my hand that has a duplicate in the discard pile. So I take a horror that is acceptable. So Skids takes a horror that is 3 out of 6. All right, that's Skids' Mythos phase, and now Daisy's card. Oh God, Claws of Steam might kill her. Oh, Need for Knowledge. It sounds like something that we want Daisy doing. If you have no clues, it gains Surge. Daisy has 1 clue. Otherwise, test Intellect X, where X is the number of clues you have. Okay, test Intellect 1. She can do that. So I'm at 5 to 1 on this test. I'll let that ride as is. And I pull out a -2, so we're good. Good to go on that test. Okay. Oh, okay. Mythos phase averted. Now, how to get out of trouble. Because Skids might need to come bail Daisy out, I'm going to go ahead and start with Daisy. Okay, this is a bit tricky. Here's the problem. If I play the Mind Over Matter to be able to get away from the conductor, which is certainly a good play, I don't have the 2 strength icons in order to be able to move into the next passenger car. So that means I would have to stick around here, which would be no good. I could cast a Storm of Spirits, but I've only got the juice for 1 of those. I could do, I have 2 Knowledge's Power. Let me read over that card again. Resolve an ability on that asset, but it's not a action ability. Yeah, it's not an action ability. So Storm of Spirits can't be used with Knowledge's Power. Is that true? I'm going to have to do a little look into the rules reference here for that type of action. I'm going to say that it would not be allowed to work on Storm of Spirits. The problem here is that Storm of Spirits does not have the fast action or activated action icons. So I don't think I could use that. Otherwise, I would be able to cast Storm of Spirits twice and be able to kill this guy. Boy, that's too bad. Okay, well, let's go ahead and try something different. I'm gonna dig for another strength icon. Now I can't just flat out dig because I have a monster that's active in my space and I would just get killed by attacks of opportunity. So I'm gonna play Knowledge's Power. So that's a fast action, played only during your turn. And I'm gonna choose the Old Book of Lore in my hand. That is a tome in my hand, so I will reveal that. I will resolve the Old Book of Lore's ability to search the top 3 cards of my deck and draw a card. And I'm gonna hope for something that has a strength icon on it. So my top 3 cards of my deck are David Renfield, Logical Reasoning. Ooh, another Mind Over Matter. Okay. Yes, I will take that Mind Over Matter for sure. Renfield's nice as a soak as well. I'll come back to that. And then I'll shuffle. Okay. And then the Knowledge's Power says, then if that asset was in your hand, you may discard it to draw a card. I do not want to discard the Old Book of Lore. I have another Knowledge's Power, and I might just do that one more time. So get that shuffled up. I'm convinced that Knowledge is Power is one of the best cards Daisy could play. So that old Book of Lore is back in my hand, and now I have 2 Mind Over Matters in my hand. So as another fast action, I will play a Mind Over Matter, spending 1 resource, putting Daisy at 3, and bumping her stats up to her intellect ability, intellect skill, which is 5. So I will spend my first action to try and evade the conductor at 5 to 3. I don't have anything to add to boost this. That's not true. That is not true. I can boost this with an intellect icon. I'm going to throw in a Divermus Mysterious on this test. So I'm going to go up by 3. So this is 6 to 3 on the evade. And the Chaos Bag bequeaths me, oh my gosh, a -3. Wow, look at that. So Divermus Mysterious comes in handy in an unexpected way, and I have evaded the conductor for action number 1. Okay, so do I pick up the Helpless Passenger? Yes, I do. I spend my next action to pick up the Helpless Passenger to have a little bit of extra damage soak. And then I spend my third action to move into the passenger car next to me. I then have to discard cards with at least 2 fight icons. So the Storm of Spirits and the other Mind Over Matter are discarded, and I don't take that 2 damage. Woo! That is sneaking by the skin of our teeth right there. That leaves Daisy in hand with just another Knowledge is Power, an old Book of Lore, and a deduction. Okay, that's Daisy. So Skids, who was thinking he was going to have to go back and bail Daisy out, is now not needing to do that. So let's just go ahead and take action number 1 and move into the next train car. Yeah. So the next train car reads, this is a passenger car with only one shroud with 2 clues. Easy to clear this off. You must either discard a card from your hand with a wild icon, or take a damage and a horror. Ay. Okay. Well, I don't have a wild icon in my hand, so I'm going to take the damage and the horror with Skids. So the damage is no big deal. The horror is starting to be a big deal. We need this scenario to be OVER. Okay, that's action 1 to move in there with Skids. Daisy also doesn't have that icon, so she's gonna need, we might have to take that on the Helpless Passenger. But that horror that you take for killing that, everybody takes a horror, that's not good for Skids. Yikes. Okay, well, we'll cross that train car when we come to it. So let's grab a couple of clues here. Skids will just investigate here for sure. I will use High Roller on my first investigation to go up by 2, so this is 5 to 1. I get a 0, so I grab that clue. And then Skids will investigate again. Get my 3 resources back. And I'm gonna do this at just flat out 3 to 1, hope for the best. Daisy can grab it if I can't, so. All right, a 0. All right, great. So Skids cleared out the 2 clues on that location as well. Good going, Skids. He's got 6 clues on him. All right, that was a much better investigation phase than I thought that was going to happen. So let's go ahead and move on to the enemy phase. Nothing happens. The conductor is exhausted, and then we reset. So High Roller comes back. Skids draws a Scene of the Crime. Okay, well that might be handy in the final room. I'll keep that and I'll take a resource. This puts Skids at a total of 5 resources. And then Daisy will reset, and she will draw Dr. Henry Armitage. Oh my goodness, what great timing for that. I don't really need the resources from him, but boy, that extra horror and damage soak is going to be a big deal. That's going to get me into the next room. In fact, he has wild icons, so I could just ditch him that way, but that's not the right way to do it. So that's a great pull. All right, and then I take a resource, which puts me at 4. Okay, and then we go to the Mythos phase, and then we're going to go ahead and advance the agenda. Doom 3 of 3 agenda advances. Agenda 2B. Don't stop! The next train car is ripped backwards with violent force. A middle-aged man hangs from his fingertips as the car flies unhindered toward the rift. In moments, the car is consumed whole, and the man lets go rather than be pulled into the void. He starts to fall, but he is caught by the rift's force and pulled inside it anyway. How terrifying. Remove the leftmost location from the game. All right, that's the sleeping car, so it is out of the game. See, I stole that person's luggage and they didn't need it anyway, so that's out of the game. And discard all clues controlled by the investigators. All right, we return back our 7 clues and we move on. Our next agenda is Agenda 3A, Rolling Backwards. This is a 4 Doom threshold. The pull of the rift in the sky seems to grow stronger, and the entire train begins to roll backwards along the tracks. The rearmost cars of the train begin to rattle, the force of the rift threatening to detach them. You must get out of these cars as fast as you can. Cars, that's plural, that's important. We're going to lose the 2 next cards when this advances. The first time I played this scenario, that got me. I lost Agnes off of one of the penultimate train car. So that's no good. But let's go ahead and keep moving here. Mythos phase, we're going to draw a couple cards. Skids draws. Mysterious Chanting. Place 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. There aren't any. If there are no cultist enemies, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy. Okay. It has to. If I go get a acolyte, they have to go on an empty location. Right now, that would be the farthest back passenger car, or the engine car ahead of me, which I could pick off with a small favor. I could also use them as a scene of the crime target. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and put him in the engine car. So I will draw a cultist enemy, but I will take him from the discard pile. Grab an acolyte and put him in the engine car. He comes into play with a Doom on him, which I will mark on my agenda card as being there. And that is Skids' card, Daisy's card. Oh, another helpless passenger, which is going to go, let's see, that's Daisy's card. So that's going back here. Oh, boy. All right, we have to be ready for that guy to disappear because Lord knows I ain't going back for that guy. And then that will surge into Infinite Doorway. Attached to your location is an additional cost to move into or out of attached location. Discard the top card of your deck, and then things happen. All right, well, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that too much. It doesn't stop me from moving, and that's the important thing. Okay, we're at the investigation phase. Now, as of right now, I am free to move into the engine car. I very well might do that. In fact, I will do that with Skids, because I want Skids taking the test that you have to take in between. So let's do it. So Skids is going to move into the engine car. And this will advance the act finally. But let's see what engine car we've got. We flip it over. Okay, this is a 3 shroud, 4 clue location. All right, engine car is connected to the location to the left of it. Engine car cannot be investigated. Interesting. After you reveal the engine car, put the set-aside engineer into play at the engine car. Oh, okay, so we got the new one. I haven't played with this one yet, so that's kind of exciting. So we put 4 clues in the engine car. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a Victory 1 location. The Acolyte is now engaged with Skids. And let's go ahead and grab the set-aside engineer and put him into play. Okay, this is new. I've never read this card before. If the engineer is ready, parley. Test willpower or intellect 4. If you succeed, take control of the engineer. If you already control the engineer, discover a clue from your location instead. Any investigator at engineer's location may trigger this action. Okay, so this is the guy. This guy, we need to convince him to get this thing moving. All right, I have seen worse challenges. So the engineer is in the location. That looks like a job for Daisy for sure. Also, she'd like to have the extra soak that he provides as well. So, but first thing I have to do is advance the act. Act 1B, Wings of Steam. The investigator entering the engine car reads the following. A tender car filled with coal blocks your way to the engine cab. Swallowing your fear, you climb out of the nearby window and clamber onto the roof of the train, making your way across the tender car. The steady backward motion of the train makes it difficult for you to keep your footing. As you get close, a winged creature swoops down from above, its body composed of piping hot steam. Okay, so I have to decide whether I'm going to test agility or fight 3. A failure causes you to suffer a trauma. Now, I'm going to test fight. Both of my skills are 4, so I'll test fight 4 to 3, and I'm going to commit a small favor and a watch this. Oops, let's not watch this. Small favor and a watch this to that test. So I don't want to fail this, and I'd like the watch this resources. So I'm going to go ahead and spend the 3 on. I'm going to commit 3 for watch this, and I'm up 3. So I'm at 7 to 3 on this test. So I'm at +4. Oh boy, here we go. A 0. Terrific. Thank you, Chaos Bag. I doubled my money on watch this, giving me 8 resources now. And I passed the test on the way in. Okay. So Skids, all he has done is moved in. I've got this Acolyte with me right now, and I would like to use him for scene of the crime next turn for sure. Because I can't do that this turn. And I cannot investigate this location, so the lockpicks are going to be no good. I can use those to parley. That's not a bad plan. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to parley with this guy. And I'm going to test intellect 4. I will commit the lockpicks to put me at 4, and I will commit the high roller to put me at another +2. So I'm at 6 to 4 on this test. See if I can convince this engineer to step up to the plate. Oh, and this is a parley test, so it does not trigger an attack of opportunity from the Acolyte. All right, and out of the bag comes another 0. All right, getting lucky there. That's great. So that is a successful parley of the engineer. I then take control of him. All right. So I get my high roller money back. And the lockpicks are discarded. Okay, so now we just need to keep parleying with this guy to be able to try to convince him to grab the clues off of this location. I don't really have a good shot at this for my third action, so I'll just try to evade the Acolyte at 4-2. -3 is no good, so I do not evade the Acolyte. He does not have alert, so no penalty there. Do I want to take an extra action? No. Yeah, I do. Why not? I've got money. I'll spend 2 resources for a 4th action to evade him again at 4-2. Try to save myself a damage. And I got a -1. Okay, so that's successful. So the Acolyte is evaded and hanging out there in the engine car. All right, this is shaping up nicely. Daisy's gonna book it. So she's going to move into the passenger car next to her. That will cause her to, oh, no, wrong. Daisy's going to play Dr. Henry Armitage first for 2. Absolutely. Okay, then she is going to, let's really quick play Knowledge is Power to do the old Book of Lore trick again. So I will take the top 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got the Necronomicon, which is a little late for that. I don't really need the resources. A Ward of Protection or St. Hubert's Key. I will take, ooh, the St. Hubert's Key will be helpful on that. Parlay it down there. Heck, so will the Necronomicon, and it's cheaper. Necronomicon it is. I will take the Necronomicon, and then I'll shuffle the other 2 back in. I'll take the old Book of Lore back into my hand. No, I will, let me shuffle here. I'm gonna discard that old Book of Lore to draw a card. So the old Book of Lore is discarded and I draw a Ward of Protection. What? That's great. Okay, so reminder of Daisy's hand, I've got a Ward of Protection, a Necronomicon, and a Deduction in my hand, and Knowledge's Power is discarded. Did I mention how much I like that card? That card's great. All right, Daisy has spent 1 action so far to play Dr. Armitage. All right, I'm going to move into the passenger car for my 2nd action. In order to move, I need to satisfy this infinite doorway. So discard the top card of my deck. It is a banish spell. If it is a weakness, it is not, and I don't have that in my hand or play area. So that's just discarded. No effect. Now I need to take a damage in a horror because of the icons I'm missing. Oh, I could play Ward of Protection. I could ditch the Ward of Protection to be able to save that, but now that I've got the soak, I'm gonna put it on Armitage. So I'm gonna put both the damage and the horror on Armitage and hold on to my Ward of Protection for sure. So that's my 2nd action to move into there. Play, move, and I think I will just go ahead and do I tome action? Yeah, I'll stay here. I will spend my 3rd action to play the Necronomicon. I have enough money for that. I now have all neutral assets out in play, and that costs the last of my resources, but I have not taken my tome action this turn, so I'll take that for the Necronomicon and gain 2 resources. And that's it for Daisy. Okay, hate to think too optimistically, but this is looking not bad. Enemy phase. The conductor chases us into the passenger car. And then that's all that happens because the Acolyte is evaded. And then we go into the reset. Skids gets his high roller back. I get my actions back, and Skids draws An Elder Sign Amulet. Boy, oh boy, that really shores up his weakness. Between the engineer and that's great to see. And then I'll take a resource as well. All right, and then Daisy will reset and draw. Crack the case. Well, that's not needed, but I can use it to commit for an icon. All right, and I'll take a resource, putting me at 3. All right, so moving on to the Mythos phase. 2 doom out of 4 on the agenda. Skids draws an emergent monstrosity. Wow-z wowzers. Okay, so this guy is a big old monster. 4 fight, 3 evade, 5 health. It spawns at the location to your right. I don't have one of those. Or your location if there is no location to your right. And it enters play exhausted. Skids, by the way, has never drawn a weapon so far. Maybe I drew one, but no, I don't think so. Have I drawn a weapon? Not a single one. So the chances of me dealing 5 damage to this as of right now are looking a little slim. But the victory 1 is certainly tempting. We'll see what happens. I need to finish this scenario before I'm dead. So he is in at the... Oh, the Acolyte is back engaged with Skids, by the way. The Emergent Monstrosity is exhausted in that engine car. That's Skids' card. And then Daisy's card is Haunting Recollections. Okay. This is for each card in your hand if there's a copy of that card in your discard pile. I'm not 100% sure that all 3 of these cards aren't in my discard pile. Deduction, yes. Word of Protection, yes. Crack the Case, yes. All 3 are in my discard pile. Okay, that would mean I would take 3 horror. I am at 5 of 9. No, I'll pass on that. I will go ahead and play Ward of Protection, spending a resource. I will take a single horror on myself, putting me at 6 of 9 to cancel that. All right. All right, we need to get this moving. Skids is going to, for his first action, it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. He is going to play Scene of the Crime. Costs 2 resources. And this card has come up big yet again. Discover 2 clues, because there is an enemy at this location. Discover 2 clues at the location without provoking an attack of opportunity. So Skids will discover the two of the 4 clues that are there. And what's nice about that is that I cannot investigate the engine car, but that does not mean I can't discover clues. So that's Skid's first action. Skid's second action will be to attempt to parley the engineer. I will throw everything I can throw into this. The high roller for a +2, that puts me at 5. And I will commit the Elder Sign Amulet for 6. So I'm going 6 to 4 on this parlay test. Just trying to make it easier for Daisy. And I draw. Oh my gosh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful thing. An Elder Sign. In the last room, that's the 2nd scenario in a row. How about that? So that Elder Sign is a +2 for Skids, so he succeeds at that parley. So I'll grab a clue off the location. It says, if you already control the engineer, discover 1 clue from your location instead. All right. And that will grab me a resource, two resources also, because of the success of that. And the Elder Sign says grab 2 resources. I get my high roller money back. Unfortunately, I don't get high roller back. I will spend my third action to go ahead and punch the Acolyte. I am at 4-3 on this punch. I'll just take it straight up 4-3. A tentacle, it seems fair. All right, the Acolyte does not have a retaliate. I will spend two resources for another action, and I'll punch the Acolyte again. No, let's just get him out of the way. I'm gonna evade the Acolyte. Better chance of that. 4-2. Occultist is what I drew. That says -1 if you fail. Okay, so I did not fail, so I did evade the Acolyte. He still has his doom on him, but he's evaded. Okay, that clears the way for Daisy to hopefully be able to run in here and finish this off. So Daisy will move in. I am now sitting at 6 intellect. Moving into this engine car, and there's no effect or payment needed for that. I will take the engineer action. If the engineer is ready, I will test intellect 4 as a parley, and this can be done by any investigator at the engineer's location. So I'm testing 6-4, and I will commit a crack the case to go 7-4. All right, 7-4, and Daisy draws Occultist. That is a -1, and I did not fail that. So Daisy, then, if you already control the engineer, so I think Skids gets that clue, but it doesn't matter. And that is the final clue off of the engine car. And what means we immediately advance. Advancing to Act 2B. The engine roars to life and kicks into motion. You shovel coal into the engine's firebox and are relieved to see that the train is moving forward along the tracks once again. Resolution 1. Hey, very good. That is a tough scenario to win, and we just won. So on top of that, took no trauma. We got a little bit close there toward the end, but we were able to keep the pace going. Some nice combo action going on in both decks. Definitely both characters pulled their weight to be able to get that successful. We didn't lose any helpless passengers. We didn't get much in the way of XP. We're going to have two victory point locations, and I don't believe we killed any enemies worth of VP. I'll just double check. Nope. But we don't have to add a weakness to our deck, and we can go forward with the knowledge that we did our best on the train and made it to Dunwich on time for the next scenario. All right, well, thank you for joining me for this playthrough of Return to the Essex County Express. I hope you've enjoyed the adventures of Skids and Daisy. I think it got a little exciting there. We just about lost it to that conductor, for sure. He put such a cool amount of pressure in the scenario. Tough enemy to deal with. Sorely needed from the original Essex County Express, in my opinion. Hate to leave a VP on the table, but that's what it is. You've been watching I've Got a Plan. You can reach me on Facebook at I've Got a Plan Podcast. That's IVEGOTA Plan Podcast, no apostrophe. And you can also find me on Discord, both at the Mythos Busters and the Drawn to the Flame Discords. You can also find me at my email, which is tpfiscus@gmail.com, or on my SoundCloud for the audio version of this podcast, which will have a new episode coming out next week. That is SoundCloud Tim Paul, TIMPAUL, or you can also search for Tim Paul I've Got a Plan Podcast. Once again, it's just been a pleasure to bring this to you, and I hope you had a great time watching it. We'll see you next time as we go to the Return to Blood on the Altar. Let's have fun.